The diplomats have been under intense pressure during the Brexit process. Its civil servants are at the forefront of diplomatic efforts to ensure a smooth departure from the EU and maintain Britain's standing in the world. But some Brexiteers have accused its mandarins of being at the heart of the Remainer establishment, trying to thwart the Brexit that 17.4 million people voted for in 2016. The former Permanent Secretary Simon Fraser has made his views clear.
We have looked long and hard at Brexit and discovered it doesn't work, in any form.
Another night at the diplomatic service, Sir Ivan Rogers, the UK's former ambassador to the EU, maintains that Mrs May did not properly understand the EU when she triggered Article 50 and followed a negotiation strategy that was doomed to failure. He believes that diplomats have done their best to implement her red lines. The man charged with that responsibility was Ollie Robbins, a bête noire of hard Brexiteers who claim he never believed in the project. He was overheard in a bar saying Mrs May would never go for no deal, so the choice for MPs was her deal or a long extension. Well, we're joined now by Sir Simon Fraser, who was a senior civil servant, rising to become head of the diplomatic service and head of the Foreign Office. You blame Sir Simon?
Well, I mean, partly number 10, but you have to go back further. We set off on this course with a referendum without knowing what it entailed. Nobody was explained to clearly exactly what would happen with Brexit. We then had a political crisis. The Prime Minister drew a number of red lines. We haven't had outreach across the parties to try and form a collective position until very late in the day. So the whole thing has been badly mishandled. But in the end, the point is that the people were sold a false prospectus from the start.
Could it ever have been delivered in the form that it was sold?
Well, not in the form that it was sold, in my view, because there were a lot of partial or untruths. But what could have been delivered, or at least what should have happened, is a much fuller process of consultation before we went forward in A, setting out very rigid terms for Brexit, and B, actually triggering Article 50 without a plan. We haven't had a viable plan all the way through, and here we are at the last minute scrabbling to find a way to extend the process. Well, I don't actually think you can blame civil servants, and I think the idea of scapegoating civil servants for this is completely wrong and unfair. Civil servants have done their best to deliver Brexit in accordance with the democratic mandate of the referendum, in a situation in which there's been very little political clarity about the type of Brexit that they were seeking. Now, Ollie Robbins led a negotiation which has led to a proposed deal. What we've discovered is that actually Parliament doesn't like that deal, and actually Parliament doesn't like any deal. And over time, really what we've learned is there is no good form of Brexit that the country is prepared to unite behind.
What do you think it's done to Britain's reputation across the world?
Well, I think the world has looked on with amazement at Brexit. They were amazed by the original decision and even more amazed by the way we've mishandled the delivery of the decision. So that is a problem for us. They don't quite know what to say about it. They don't know how to engage with us because they don't know which direction we're taking. And I think the problem is the longer this drags on, the more there is damage to our influence and our reputation abroad at a time when there are really important problems to be addressed internationally and indeed domestically across the policy horizon.
When things go catastrophically wrong in this country, we normally have huge public inquiries into them afterwards. Should there be one this time?
Well, there's been a proposal and discussion of that. Frankly, my own view is we need to focus on finding a way forward. I think the sensible thing to do now is to extend the process, to take Donald Tusk's offer of what he calls flextension, and indeed, as Peter Oborne has said, to step back and think about where we now are and stop banging our heads endlessly against the same brick wall and getting the same result.
To try and tap your seasoned diplomacy. You know, you've got Macron sitting there in the shadows. Do you think Mrs May is going to get what she wants?
Well, that's why she's gone. She's already asked for the extension, and now she's trying to fix it. The trouble is the EU said if you're going to extend further, we need to have a clear proposal from the UK side as to why we're extending. She doesn't seem to have that. Nevertheless, I think, on balance, the EU will grant a further extension so that we avoid no deal, which, by the way, I think would be a disastrous outcome and would not facilitate further negotiation. It would actually make it much more difficult.